My name is Lieutenant Nico Sirio with Pembroke Pines Fire Rescue. Unfortunately, I'm unable to come and speak to you in person today like we would normally do due to the pandemic. So today I'm going to address some questions that you have and go over some information about what it's like to work at the fire department and what we do while we're on duty. Daily firehouse life entails a lot of things, but to give somebody an idea of what we do, we come to work for 24 hours. We start work at 8 a.m. and we work till 8 a.m. the next morning. Within that 24-hour period, our primary responsibility would be running emergencies, medical calls, fire alarms, and even structure fires. However, when we're not running calls, we still have daily things to do that we need to get accomplished around the station. Every morning we check out all of our equipment for about an hour to an hour and a half, making sure that the trucks and all of our personnel employees are ready for the day. After our pre-morning checkout is completed, we move forward to duties that we do around the station. These duties can be from cleaning the station, getting it ready for the day, making sure everything is in order. We'll send out one person from the station to go shop for our food because we are responsible for cooking our own meals inside the firehouse. That person will go out, get the food, and we'll have a menu prepared for the day. It's actually pretty decent meals we end up with. Throughout the day, we have various tasks that we do. We like to train so that we keep our skills up to date and that we can respond and perform effectively on medical and emergencies. At some point in the day, we're afforded time to be able to work out because physical fitness is a large part of our job. So not only keeping our equipment ready, but also our bodies ready to respond to any emergency that may arise. The interesting thing is that at any point in the day, no matter what you're doing, the emergency tones at the station can go off and you're expected to respond in an instant. And we'll go out and mitigate whatever emergency arises. My job specifically is on the rescue truck, what you guys would know as an ambulance. We respond to any medical call in our zone in the city. The origin of the Dalmatian dog in the firehouse and in the fire service dates back to when they would have horse-drawn fire units, and the Dalmatian was very compatible with the horses as it didn't scare the horses or startle them. And also the Dalmatian was very good at being able to direct the fire apparatus in the correct direction and locate the address and the emergency. It dates back to about the 1840s. FDNY, which is the New York Fire Department, was one of the first to employ it. And it's just kind of been a staple in the fire department ever since. Be able to perform our job effectively and be able to actually have a chance to save someone, it's a pretty rigorous amount of schooling you have to go through. It starts with an EMT program, which you can take at like a local college. That gives you the basic skills needed to be able to address wounds, bandaging. It teaches you CPR. Teaches you how to recognize when an emergency is happening and how to operate accordingly with a minimum level of education. The next step would be to go to a paramedic school or paramedic program. This is going to give you a little more tools, a little more knowledge, and a little more information. It teaches you how to use emergent medications, start IVs, push these medications in life-saving scenarios, and it gives you a higher level of training on the medical field. And then obviously, after completing both of those programs, once you get hired at a fire department, we do a rigorous amount of training while working to make sure we keep those skills that we learned in EMT and paramedic school sharp and that we're ready to perform at the moment's notice. So when you're going to become a firefighter, you kind of have to become a jack of all trades. You perform training in various aspects of your job duties. Starting with, like we mentioned, EMT school. That'll give you the baseline of all your medical training that you need. Followed by paramedic school, will give you a higher level of medical training. And then the fire academy will give you your fireground specific training, working with fire hose, how to tie basic knots, how to rescue people from perilous situations. And again, this is training that we constantly build upon. It's not like you do it one time in the beginning of your career. You know, we train every single day that we come into work. And every time we put our hands on the equipment, we train to do this kind of stuff. So when you're responding to a fire with the goal of extinguishing it, it's important to know what started the fire, what's currently burning, and how large that fire is and how much of the structure it's had access to. We have different types of extinguishing agents that we carry, from just regular water to firefighting foam to dry chem extinguishers. And we employ different types of extinguishers for different things that are burning. So we have a specialty extinguisher to use on electrical fires. We have a specialty type of extinguishing agent to use on gasoline or liquid-based fires. The majority of the time, though, we're going to be using just regular water like you would see out of a regular fire hydrant to be able to effectively extinguish a fire. I'd say one of the most difficult things that you have to do while being a firefighter is to be prepared to respond to an emergency at a moment's notice, regardless of what's going on around the station or what you're presently doing here. We get calls for medical alarms or emergencies at all times of the day within the 24 hours that we're here working. Whether you're in the shower, whether you're eating, whether you're asleep, you have to be ready and prepared to respond at a moment's notice to whatever could be on the other end of that alarm. When fighting a fire, we typically revert back to what we've trained on and what we've prepared for. We do a tremendous amount of training and try to simulate the scenario of what it's like to be inside of a fire to make ourselves more comfortable with operating in that kind of environment. And at that point, you know that it's your job to do what you have to do. This is what you've trained for, what you prepared for, and more importantly, what you signed up to do. So you rely on your training, you rely on those around you, your co-workers, your brother and sister firemen, and with the help of each other, with the help of the training that we constantly practice, it's easy to not feel scared and feel more secure when you're operating in those kind of conditions. We find people in buildings that are trapped based on our search and rescue operations. On almost every single structure fire that we respond to, some personnel are tasked with searching the structure for people that may be injured, downed, or trapped inside the building. This is like a systematic approach to searching the building to ensure that no victims are missed. We search in areas of high likelihood, bedrooms, bathrooms, places of refuge within inside the structure where people might be hiding from the intense conditions that the fire creates. Sometimes this creates a challenge depending on how involved the fire has become, because as the fire grows, it tends to generate more smoke. The more smoke that the fire generates, it decreases our ability to see with our own eyes, in which case we tend to rely on a piece of equipment called a thermal imaging camera. Every suppression unit, engines and platforms in the city will carry a camera much like this. And what this does is it allows us to see through the limited visibility of the smoke, and it registers the heat signatures from a person's body. So if the camera is on, you're able to see with the thermal imager the heat signature that you might not be able to see with your naked eye. These come in handy when you're trying to find people in heavily smoke-involved rooms, and oftentimes any time when visibility is in question, the thermal imager plays a major role in being able to locate and rescue victims. Personally, I grew up around the fire service. My father was a fireman. My great-grandfather was a firefighter for the city of Baltimore. So it was something that I was raised around, something that I feel played a large part of my childhood. And then when I think about what a firefighter gets to do, he gets to be the person that responds when people need their help most. He gets to be the problem solver and try to help people in their worst possible scenario and try to make it just a little bit better. And who doesn't like to ride around on a big fire truck, right?
Firefighters don't get burned when they go into a fire because they wear all of this protective equipment. Firefighters breathe in fire with this piece of equipment called the self-contained breathing apparatus. It has clean air for me to breathe.
I acknowledge my call on the radio. I walk over to my fire engine. I open the door, climb in, put my seatbelt on because safety first. Close the door and start the truck. Well, once I get into the fire truck, I look at my computer here. It tells me my address and all the information I need to know on my call. Then I go, once I get the address, and look on my map, because we have maps of the city in every truck, and I find the address on the map. It gives me my routing. Once I'm ready to go, I turn on the truck, I start it. Safety first to make sure I have my seatbelt on. And we leave the station. Fire truck up next to our hydrant here. When the fireman comes out of the truck, opens the hydrant. Check to see if there's any water in the hydrant before we hook up to it. Make sure the water's clean. Now that we have water, we're able to hook up to the fire hydrant. Take our hose, turn directly to the fire hydrant. The hose runs through the fire truck. In a second here, he'll open the hydrant up. You can see the water's going down the line right now to the fire truck. We have water to the truck. Now that we had the hydrant hooked up to the fire truck, the water goes from the fire hydrant to the fire truck into the pump that's in the truck. Now the water's going to come down this line, and this is a special nozzle we use to fight fire. And we change the stream on it.
On behalf of George and I, and everybody here at Pembroke Pines Fire Rescue, we hope you guys enjoyed our virtual career day. We wish you all nothing but a safe future. Thank you.